one FCC commissioner, the only Democrat, has turned on the Trump administration and says that they have turned the FCC into a censorship weapon. Well, we didn't need her to tell us that, did we? We've seen that over and over again. You know, Brendan Carr goes out there and he says, well, I think we need to look at the licenses of these stations because I don't like their content. That, folks, is beyond reprehensible. We thought that stuff was all behind us when we got rid of the Fairness Act. Remember, they put in the Fairness Act, oh, you got to have equal time for everything. And so therefore, we're going to keep conservative voices off and we'll only have voices on the left because we'll say that the mainstream consensus that is coming out of the CIA and its Operation Mockingbird, that's going to be what we allow. And anybody who's got an opinion about that, that's dangerous. And so we're going to have to put somebody on to stop that opinion. So we're not going to have any opinion radio. Reagan got rid of that, and it was Rush Limbaugh who stepped in and took advantage of that. And then all of conservative radio and podcasts and all the rest of the stuff is based on the concept of free speech. What a novel idea. So, and do you remember when Obama was president? And conservatives had a real big problem with the FCC trying to stick its nose under the tent. They sent a letter around under Obama saying, yeah, we would like to know how you make the news. How do you determine what you're going to report and that type of thing? I remember when Megyn Kelly came in with her Fox News people, InfoWars, and they had the people who would write the scripts for her that she would read to you came around and they asked us, they said, so how do you, you have a meeting and you decide what stories you're going to cover and what angle you're going to take and that type of thing? How does that work? And it's like, no, that's the way you guys do it. We just go through this and we come up with our own opinion here until you get sideways against Trump and then you get fired. That's the bottom line. But anyway, I remember when Obama was talking about the FCC under Obama, and conservatives were rightfully complaining about that. We don't want to have, first of all, there's no authority for the FCC to even exist, right? And, all that stuff could have been handled with a one-time auction of the frequencies that are out there. And then if somebody is impinging on your frequency, then you can handle it like you would any kind of trespass on property. And so the FCC is in search of a mission because always when you got a bureaucracy that is in search of a mission, you wind up with mission creep from these creeps. That's what's going on right now. Big time under Trump. Nobody has a problem with it. See, conservatives had a problem with this when it was Obama. So that's why they had to put in Trump, because liberals don't have a problem with censorship. They really don't. And it used to be that conservatives did. I thought when I'm looking at all this money, I thought, well, I'll put a clip in from Everett Dirksen. Remember that guy? If you're old enough, you do. I mean, he was around when I was a child. And I was kind of mesmerized by this guy. He was struggling to breathe even when he talked. It's strange. You talk really slow. And then he'd take a long breath. And everybody was laughing about the idiosyncrasies of this guy and the way that he talked. They even made a short little record about it. Wild thing. I think I love you. But he was a guy who said, well, $1 billion here and $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Not to the Trump administration. It's $1 trillion here and $1 trillion there. It's astronomical. And when I looked at Everett Dirksen, some of the stuff that I came up with when I did a search on him, speeches that he gave and phone calls that he had with LBJ, he was the traditional Republican, a Taft Republican. These are Republicans who are fiscally conservative. They supported free speech. They opposed foreign wars of entanglement. Where are those Republicans today? I can't think of a single one that fits that except for Thomas Massey. And he has amassed a massive pushback against him from the Zionists. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. I mean, stop and think about this. If you had France or Germany that's getting billions of dollars every year from the United States, and then they were using that money to come back in and buy politicians to give them even more money, And if anybody spoke against that, they would attack that person with massive spending in their campaign. Now, what would we say about France and Germany? Would we get upset about that? We're not allowed to get upset about Israel because Israel is special, right? Israel has, if you criticize Israel, you're accused of being a racist. And why is that? Isn't that a tacit admission that Israel is a state that is based on racism? It is a state that is based on your supposed hereditary, your family tree or whatever, right? So yeah, I guess if you criticize them, you're being racist because it is a racist state. But we should be allowed to criticize any government, our own included, and any government that comes in and buys our politicians should be criticized. There's nobody that does that. There's nobody that's fiscally conservative anymore like Everett Dirksen, except for Thomas Massie. I mean, he spent his own money to buy these debt clock things that people could wear on their lapels and gave them to incoming Congress people. They were not interested, right? Because there's nobody else that cares about that. There's nobody else really that cares much about stopping these endless wars. And of course, when Everett Dirksen was around, they didn't have the Epstein stuff. I can imagine what he would have said about that. Wouldn't even occur to him that such a thing like that could happen. Anyway, when you look at the attacks against ABC, against Wall Street Journal, against anybody that does CBS, for example, you know, when he didn't like their editing. He thought it made Lala Harris look too good. Well, you know, that's the way editing works. You know, you choose to use this or you choose not to use that. And it was all subjective, and the guy won anyway. But he wanted to punish them, and he did punish them. He used the power of government to force them to a personal multi-million-dollar settlement with him. Folks, that is criminal. Criminal how he used his power and government to shake down his opponent in a lawsuit. And so this FCC commissioner, who's a Democrat, her name is Gomez, she referenced the $16 million settlement in Trump's 2024 defamation suit against George Stephanopoulos. And she said to Disney, she said, that settlement did not buy you peace. Now listen to this. You cannot buy Trump's favor. For the right price, you can only borrow it. And the price always goes up. Boy, that's something to frame. Now, she didn't say Trump. She said this administration. But that's Trump. That's what we're talking about. You cannot buy Trump's favor. For the right price, you can borrow Trump's favor. But the price always goes up on Trump's favor. What a criminal he is. An absolute criminal. She said, as Neil Gorsuch recently pointed out, the threat is the point. The value of the sword of Damocles is that it hangs, not that it drops. You see? And that's exactly what this is all about. Well, Trump says that he's going to suspend the gas tax for a period of time. Isn't that nice of him? And what does that tell you? It tells you that he's not going to stop the war. Not a chance. Hormuz opens. Nacho. Yeah, I'll suspend the gas tax for a little while, but hey, I'm not ending the war. I have no intention of doing that. If it does end, it'll be great. I don't see it ending, though. He's not going to end his war of aggression. It's the same way that all these MAGA tards were saying, well, look, he's going to put in the tariffs, but he's going to get rid of the income tax. Like, no, he's not going to get rid of the income tax. He says he's going to make the tax breaks that he put in 2017, he's going to extend them. He's going to make them permanent. That means that he's going to make the income tax permanent. Can you not think about, can you not connect any dots together? If he says he's going to make the income tax cuts permanent, that means the income tax is going to be permanent. He's not going to replace it with a tariff. We're going to have two taxes, not just one. And so then let's talk about his reflecting pool. Isn't this the perfect project for a narcissist like Trump. That was the where the term comes from, the Greek mythology of this guy called Narcissus, I guess is what he was called. And he would fell in love with himself looking in the pool. Are we going to see Trump down there on his knees looking in his reflection in the pool? I don't know, but it could happen. It really could. So he started out and he said it's going to be $1.8 million. Then the cost tripled. Then it doubled again. And now it is 6 times higher, but they say actually 7 times higher if you don't round it off, right? But that's basically the way that it's gone. And it's going to a no-bid contract as well. It's something, some people, a company that he's done business before with. So it's his hand-picked contractor, a no-bid contract, and they just keep going up on the price.
If he could just sit down and reflect on this for a little bit, he might see it's a bad deal, but it's kind of a circular problem at the moment, I guess.
But here's the key, folks. Why did he go with a no-bid contract? How was he allowed to do that? Well, it's because he said this is urgent. Any delay could cause serious injury to the government. So it's an emergency. Have we seen that before? Yeah, I think we have, haven't we? Everything is emergency. I don't have time to go through and do the tests on the vaccines. It's emergency. I don't have time to wait for the Congress to follow the Constitution on tariffs. I don't have time to wait for the Congress to follow the Constitution on declaring war. This is an emergency. That's an emergency. The Constitution and the law no longer apply to me. I declare the emergencies. Then that gives me the power to rule by executive order. I am sick of this. I am sick of this.
Mr. President, they've just launched the nukes. Quick, get me to the reflecting pool.
Yeah, it is a reflection on Trump, isn't it? Public contracting records do not say why the contractor's costs increased so sharply on Friday. Why is it now 7 times higher than it was at the beginning? The company, Atlantic Industrial Coatings, did not respond to questions about the increase. But the government documents obtained by the New York Times show that the contract's current value matches down to the dollar an offer that was submitted to the government by the Atlantic Industrial Coatings in the middle of last month. That offer included a 20% profit margin, the documents show. So have they been ramping this up on their side, or was Trump lying to people? Did he know what the price was going to be in advance, and he just lowballed it to the American public? Does anybody care? As a matter of fact, you got Bill Maher and John Fetterman together talking, and they're defending Trump's ballroom and the cost of it. Listen to what they said. They said it's just couch money. Let's not worry about this. $1 billion here and $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. And that also applies when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. But these guys, these supposed Democrats, love Trump's ballroom. Why is that? Folks, it's because they're Zionists. Bill Maher, John Fetterman, Alan Dershowitz, these people who have been hardcore leftist Democrats and still are on all these issues, they support Trump because of one reason. Because he is the Zionist chosen goy. He is the one that they can control. And he has offered himself as a prostitute to them several times in public, in speeches, Yeah, Congress used to be owned by you guys, and rightfully so. You should own them, but they're just not delivering for you. Get me in, and I'll do everything that you want. And that extends even to Democrat politicians, to Democrat entertainers, to Democrat lawyers. They're all pro-Trump if they're Jewish. How much has the Iran war actually cost? Well, a lot more than the $25 billion that they're lying to us about. It's just like the pool, right? They come in and say, well, the pool is only going to cost $1.8 million when they know it's going to cost at least 7 times that. Direct military costs have exceeded $70 billion by one estimate. Americans have also paid more than $37 billion in higher energy costs since the war began. But these costs don't end there. They stack and they multiply on each other. As I said before, when you raise the price of oil, it's like putting on a massive value-added tax. It gets added at every stage of production. So when you look at all this stuff, we put those things together. Again, like I said at the beginning of the program, it's about $1,000 per household for this Iran war adventure, for Israel's benefit. Is it worth it for you? Did you have an extra $1,000 sitting around the house that you would say, yeah, let's go to war for Israel? It'll be fun to watch this, right? Let's kill a bunch of people. How about the $11,100 that will work out per household for the $1.5 trillion Pentagon Pete budget? No, that's nothing to worry about either, is it? Trump administration says the first 2 months of America's war with Iran cost taxpayers about $25 billion. But they always lie, whether you're talking about a pool or a ballroom or a war. But other people have said that the cost is much, much higher. Stephen Simler, a journalist who founded the Security Policy Reform Institute, in a Substack post last week, estimated that the war had cost nearly $72 billion in its first 60 days. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon it adds up, right? Especially if you're spending $1 billion a day. Actually, more than that. So the cost of operations, weapons, damaged and destroyed U.S. military assets, and wartime subsidies to Israel. If it takes a couple of years for the economy to return to normal, that slower growth rate would mean around $400 billion in lost income. So you can add that to the calculations as well. It's worth keeping in mind that the Trump administration asked Congress for $200 billion to cover the cost of the war in March. They knew. And they know that the clock has not stopped. It's going to keep going. Not anywhere close to stopping. Well, you want to do comments before we take a break, Travis? Or
yes,
we can do it when we come back.
Start with this one from Audi MRR. Says, MAGA cultists will continue to allow themselves to be played by their orange god.
That's right. They will worship him as they do it. That's right. I like the way that looks. I like the comments that you put up there, Travis. Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
He's done several little things here with lower thirds and rotating icon to show the website and that type of thing. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Continually working on stuff.
Yeah.
And we have M. Palmer 99 says, as a pastor, I know many older folks who watch conservative news and believe Trump to be God's man for our country. They're great people who are misinformed.
Yeah, that's right. That's the power of propaganda. And folks, that's why Israel is spending $730 million to propagandize people. And that's one of the reasons why when Big Pharma buys the TV networks with all their advertising, that everybody believes in their products and nobody questions what they claim is science. That's the power of propaganda. It truly is amazing. Of course, Edward Bernays, who lied us into World War I for Woodrow Wilson, after he did that, he went to Madison Avenue. They don't spend the kinds of money that they spend on ads because they don't work. No, they know that they work, and they know how to make them work. And so when you've got Fox News and these other places out there telling people how wonderful Trump is, and again, they are literally cheering his wars, that's pulling the wool over people's eyes. And they just don't want to look and to do their own thinking. And it was tragic to see that happen with the pandemic. And now they're kind of pushing this again with this hantavirus, which I would say we need to rename it and say it ain't a virus. Go ahead, Travis. What's the next one?
And we have Guard Goldsmith says, spot on, David, and the FCC shows the impractical folly of collectivizing things that are supposed to be handled through property rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And Guard is absolutely right. It is a property right. Just handle it like that, right? But no. Instead, they want to have their control. That's the whole point. They're looking for an excuse to put their nose under the tent. They are not interested in property rights. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about that coming up. The tremendous push to not only take away our free speech, but to take away all property rights. That's really the basis of this you'll own nothing and be happy nonsense that they've given us. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.